Welcome back to the sub-series of Extra Time called The Goals of Our Lives, a soap opera drama about landmark moments in our experience of the beautiful game that are truly unforgettable. And today's truly unforgettable guest is Thiago. Thiago, it's a pleasure to meet you in, well, video format, I guess. How's things been?
Things been good. Things been good. Obviously, different scenario in the world right now, but staying positive, staying happy and healthy. That's what matters. Thanks for having me here.
No, it's my pleasure, honestly. I've always been wanting to get maybe a bit more Brazilian samba flavor onto the channel and this little unique little series that I'm trying out right now. I know that you've been dying to tell me about the Brazilian League and about your passion for your homeland, I'd like to say, about the beautiful game, which I would like to say is the second home for everyone across the globe in these difficult times. Soccer's a beautiful game, and we've always enjoyed it when it was going. And unfortunately, it seems like it's coming back very slowly with the Bundesliga. And I think the Premier League just recently announced they'll be coming back as well. And to the leagues that were playing during this as well, thank you for those diehard soccer fans. They've had a little bit of entertainment as well. So, yeah.
For sure. I mean, I think I've been following the Belarusian league. As soon as soccer stopped, I was like, just craving to see some footy action. And obviously with the Bundesliga coming back, I've been appreciating those leagues much more.
Mm-hmm.
I was already following it, but now I'm gonna stop and paying attention. Bundesliga, for example, is a great product to watch, and just the fact that how they were able to reinvent themselves in the past decade or so to provide an entertainment value like that. It's been great.
They've got a lot of young, nice, up-and-coming talents, and I think what everyone, at least in Canada, of course, has been paying attention to is our Canadian generational talent that's doing some beep beep running over there in for Bayern Munich and such.
Yes. It's funny to see Thomas Müller call him that, and it's you can relate to it. He's a very fast player, and it's good to see him thriving there. That's for sure. So is my boy Matteo Schooner from Hertha Berlin.
Tell me more about your boy, man. How did you start following this guy?
Yeah, no, he had a tremendous past few games. Last game against I think they were playing Leipzig yesterday, and unfortunately he didn't score, but he was playing for Leipzig, and then just sold him to Hertha Berlin, and it's good to see him playing really well. I think Brazil really needs that fresh young blood right now to be injected on the national team. It's crazy, right? Years after the World Cup, 1 or 2 years, we always look to see who the next star is, and we got a couple of names right now, but not as much as we used to do in the past. So it's good to see him play.
So what kind of players do you think Brazil's producing right now? Like, what type of player is the national team missing, in your opinion?
So it's a great question. I think we're producing a lot of trendy players, which is like that winger, the fast players, the position that everybody wants to play right now.
Yeah.
And we're missing a little bit of just leaders on the team. I think like some sort of defenders, like the old fashioned player that plays with the pride and just go after the ball with hunger. Like I look at players like Lucio, for example. I would love to see another Lucio back in Brazil. Guys like Thiago Silva, who's close to retirement soon, right? We don't see those anymore coming back, but we do see a lot of versatile young players that can still able to move very quickly with the ball. So
no, that's good. It's always interesting how Brazil is able to reinvent themselves. I almost feel like every second year in the world stage and competitions, I'm always seeing a completely different Brazilian national team side. It's tough to actually have a generational team like we did see in the early 2000s that just we kind of just sit back and this is football, this is joga.
Yes, exactly. And you touch on a good point, right? Joga Bonito is almost like an identity of us, and it's always good to keep in mind not to lose that identity as the game becomes almost one worldwide. And obviously if you look at the past few years, there are arguments to be said that Brazil needed to reinvent themselves in the way they play. 2014 was a big example of it, and a big reality check to that. But I hope that as we move forward with the game here, we're still able to keep that flair that the whole world talks about. Quite frankly, is our brand.
Yeah, no, I think people will definitely never give up on Brazil because Brazil has an endless, I'd like to say, supply, it feels like, of world talent. And, all it takes is just one game or one moment during those games for them to basically say, hey, this is the next big thing. Why isn't this player getting the call up? You look at, for instance, I go back to the Premier League for some people, Richarlison is an excellent talent that everybody would want, to be starting over, in Brazil as well. And the other Brazilian that caught my name was Bruno, the Bruno guy that moved over to Lyon. Do you know anything about him a little bit?
So Bruno, I didn't really, unfortunately, I didn't get to follow him as much, but
Mhm.
I do know that, like you said, Juninho was involved in the in the process, and like I said, it's really good to see directors going to that level and
Mhm.
being like a face of a club like Lyon, and we have Edu Gaspar now in Arsenal,
Mhm.
who's going to do really really good things. Just moved from our national team, was a former Arsenal player, and now is a director for Arsenal. So it's
Mhm.
good to see that they're able to bring those young talents. Some of the times, talents that we don't really know a lot about back home in Brazil, they're able to scoop them up really, really young and have them thrive in Europe. Well, we got Martinelli in Arsenal as well, right?
That's
Who's
actually an excellent point.
exactly who wasn't a was played for a team called Ituano in Brazil and wasn't really known and seen by the Brazilian people too much, but was scooped by Arsenal at a really young age and I was performing at a high level. And
Mhm.
there's a really dangerous part for the national team for these things to happen because Martinelli's now being approached by Italy to be called up for their national team because he has Italian grandparents. So
That
it's
tough
good to see it,
battle.
but at the same time, it's scary to lose those players at their national team level too.
No, that's an excellent point. There's a lot of competition, but the one point that I like that you touched on there is having Brazilian, I would call legends of the game, in high up positions now within football clubs. Do you think that shows the current players that are currently playing right now, like there's something more after when I'm done playing? Because like, for me, being black, you want to see role models out, on the screen. So like one of the big things for me was, seeing Black Panther and everything in theaters, like, I'm on the movie screen now. Like that's just an excellent example. And to transition that back to soccer, I see that as an excellent opportunity for regardless of your nationality. Like we mentioned Davis, seeing a Canadian player, for instance, playing over in Germany, Europe's one of the biggest leagues over there. That's going to inspire Canadian players to go do the same. So to bring it back to the Brazilians here, of course, to see Brazilians in higher up positions, hey, there's more to football than, obviously entertaining on the field. You can, help bring over and import Brazilian talent over into Europe and almost
Abs-
see that
uh,
bridge.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think 100%. I'll go even further, saying that even people that weren't really a professional on their level, right, that
Mm-hmm.
now play at a high level, now see these opportunities as one that maybe one day I can become a director at a club like that, or I can be work on the marketing side of things and help the scouting department team
Mm-hmm.
on a specific team. So it's really really good to see that. Their example of Kaká, for example, after retire. He went to Harvard University, right? Continued his education. Wants to still be involved with the game. I know he's been talking for Orlando to kind of help him out a little bit on
Yeah.
that side too. So it does create like a domino effect, I think, and it does inspire others, right? To follow the same footstep, whether if you're a professional or whether you're now just want to break into the industry. And more we're seeing back home courses. That are being provided by the federations
Mm-hmm.
for anyone to take. Quite frankly, I have friends that became agents now, right? Because they took that course and they were able to
Wow.
connect with people that were taking those courses as well. Yeah, that included former coaches, former players, just the average Joe, like really, really whoever's interested in breaking into the industry. Just there's different patterns you can take right now.
No, that's good. It's really good to see that, Brazil is becoming three-dimensional in the world game of football. But the funny thing is, one of the most iconic strikers, of course, he has an interesting journey that you want to tell me a bit about. What's this now about the original Ronaldo?
Yes, yes. So Ronaldo, obviously, I would say was the greatest player that I've watched growing up, and I really you watched him and used him as a reference when I'm watching soccer of greatness at the time when I was a kid. So it was good to see him after he retired. And I actually got a chance at the Confederations Cup to work with him a little bit. I was a broadcast volunteer.
Wow.
And at the time he was working for Globo, which is a Brazilian news channel. And he was a commentator there. But then afterwards, he went on and opened R9, which was his marketing company, and then he purchased a team in the U.S. called Fort Lauderdale Strikers. He was able to kind of get that experience of running a football club, and now he went off to Spain and purchased Valladolid. Unfortunately, Fort Lauderdale Strikers doesn't exist anymore after the NSL got extinct. But we all cheering for Valladolid, this La Liga team, to succeed, and he can be another example, right, for many other players that would like to move on after their careers to do something similar.
Truly persistent still, even after you retired up the boots. That's a nice story to hear. And also congratulations. It's a good opportunity. I've told many people before, I've had the honor to meet my idol, Thierry Henry. So any chance when you get an opportunity to meet your idol, I just feel kind of just puts that little bit of inspiration back into the game for you, and just say, like, I can do what I need to go do. Speaking of, I
was actually looking for Henry to come here and play TFC. So,
trust me, man. Every time he plays TFC, man, I was always there to go watch the games. It was enjoyable, and I hate to say it, but I was maybe 51% New York Red Bulls for TFC. It was tough. But,
and now he was going to come again, right? For as a Montreal Impact coach. So
now you see, now you proposed an even more difficult question now, because now I'm just like,
it's a rivalry now.
he's not playing. And I know a lot of TFC supporters here, they're probably looking at me like, Chris, don't think about it. But I'm like, I can't. Thierry Henry's the entrance. Like, he introduced me to football. So I may not come to those games just to prevent myself from making a decision.
No, it's great to have him back on the league. And I think it's just awesome for the league to have a person like him on the team, on the front of the club, and I was looking for it. I have no doubt that he's going to do a great job at the Impact.
And I think as well, he helps elevate the 401 Derby, which has done a really excellent job. I understand that a lot of TFC fans, for instance, would like to say it's one-sided, and I can't disagree against that either. It is what it is, but what makes a good rivalry, similar to, like, I look at the Manchester Derby in, like, its infant stages when it was, people weren't taking City seriously. You need a strong Impact, so that way then it makes, when TFC beat the Impact, even the more better. So
they got the better of us. They got the better of us in the Canadian Championship last year. So, some could argue it was good for the rivalry to see that happen. But I was very upset that day.
Who wasn't? If you're wearing red and white in Toronto, who wasn't? Especially at that game, man. But I digress. I must continue, though, on to something that is very important to me. Your origin into football. How does it start?
So good you asked.
Before I get to the goals.
Because that actually ties into the goal, to the first goal, actually. So I grew up in a city called Fortaleza. We used to live with my mom, my sister, my father. And at the time, my dad used to watch, football a little bit. Not as much, but a little bit. My grandpa wanted to try to play football, but when he was growing up, it was seen almost as a poor people's sport in Brazil. So unfortunately, he was on a higher class in Brazil, and his family did not approve him playing, which it was at the time, to think about, it's crazy, right? Everyone plays right now, but he always had that with him, and he was a big fan. He used to support a team called Fortaleza. Back home. It's my hometown team, and he's just used to go to games and take my dad. And he always said that if my dad had a kid, he would give him the gift will be a pair of cleats. So here I was born, and I remember my first cleats were from my grandfather. But in Brazil, it wasn't really, in terms of playing the sport, it's not very organized there. It's pretty much like a free for all. But I wasn't really into until I was about 7 years old, 6, 7 years old. My dad, actually, every time he used to watch football and I used to run around the house, he used to, as a punishment, keep me grounded with him, and he would force me to watch soccer with him while I was just relaxing there while I was grounded. So, soccer was introduced to my life as a form of punishment for me to stop running around the house. And, I really didn't really care a lot about at the time when I was a kid growing up. But I really came across that really kind of captivated me was the 1998 World Cup. That's when I started really watching football. And the first game I remember in 1998 was Brazil versus Scotland. And I was in school at the time, and back home, whenever Brazil's playing during the World Cup, the whole country shuts down. And we had no class that day. We had the first class and it got canceled, so all the parents had to pick the kids up from school right after the first class because the game was about to start. So I remember I was the last kid in my class waiting for my mom to pick up, and I looked at the teacher, and the teacher was just wanting to go home. He was like, "Where's your mom? The game's gonna start." And the whole country is just quiet. Like it's something incredible. It's like desert when Brazil's playing at a World Cup, and if there's a goal, you will hear the whole nation roar.
Wow.
It's something I can really describe. And right there, that moment when I remember the opening ceremony for 1998, and everybody, whether if you like soccer a lot, or if you're just a little bit of a fan, or if you're not a fan at all, you would stop and watch that game. So that really stuck with me. And, that's how kind of I saw how important, my people take that game. And, I was lucky enough that my family actually allowed, it wasn't like my grandpa, they allowed me to play the sport. And that's how pretty much I fell in love. It's the 1998 World Cup. And from there, I couldn't stop watching.
That is incredible to think that a whole country would stop.
Yeah.
Watch the beautiful game for 90 minutes. Maybe Canada will get there one day. Maybe.
I hope so.
We see that with the World Juniors, but I've never seen that in my lifetime, at least.
Yeah, the fact that it's pretty much a holiday when we play back home, that still blows my mind. It's like if you want to go to the grocery store during that time, you can't. It's closed. It's just people are watching footy.
Oh my God, I can't imagine that. Like, imagine you trying to do groceries, and then like the game's just about to start, and then like I can't leave my store. You're stuck here watching the game with me. Like, oh my gosh, unreal scene.
To bring people together, right?
By the way, for sure. But I almost want to dig a bit more into it. Like you described the culture, you breed soccer, but I feel like a lot of people don't know too much about the Brazilian league and how it works and its functions. Like I know FIFA does its best to try to recreate it, but you know what? I actually have a Brazilian fan here. Why don't you explain it?
Yeah. No, for sure. So I'm gonna go back in history a little bit, and the Brazilian league is a fairly new league. The league itself, the Campeonato Brasileiro, as we call, it started in the 70s, 1971 to be exact. Before then, it used to be played the States League because not a lot of teams had money or the visibility to fly because it's a big country.
Yeah.
So if you play in the South, you couldn't really go too much to North to play teams in the North. So every state in Brazil had their championship. So you would play within that state. And that was pretty much it for the seasons back. That was back in the 40s and 30s. In the 50s, they started to kind of do a rough league a little bit with teams from Rio, São Paulo, State.
The traveling was getting better.
South. Exactly. The access to traveling was getting better. So what happens was when the actual league was created in the 70s, the States League still kept going. So in Brazil, you actually have a number of competitions, such as the State League, which runs from January to March.
Okay.
January to end of April. Okay. And then you have the main league, which is the Brazilian league, who runs from May to December. And you obviously have the cup competition too that runs with that. A lot of teams out. Yes, it's a little bit complicated. So the state leagues, it's still there because there's a lot of tradition involved in those leagues, right? Those leagues are over 100 years old. So they just don't want to get rid of it. So you have teams that play on the first division of Brazil, play on those state leagues. A lot of the times the teams that play in the state leagues, for the first rounds until they get to like the final rounds of that state titles, they like to use those leagues as a preparation for the main league. So they sometimes play their reserves, they play their U20. And more we're seeing that because the calendar is getting so busy.
Yeah.
Right? When you talk about that, what we talk about here was just the domestic competitions. I haven't even started talking about the international competitions. in South America, which
Right,
is the
actually, I never
Libertadores and
thought about it like that.
Sudamericana. So, if you're a top tier team, you might be playing state league, you might be playing the cup, you might be playing the league, you might be playing international competitions.
All in
It
the same.
gets really crowded. But for the benefits of that is the fact that it's exposure to a lot of like games. So you get an opportunity to try different players and develop a lot of talent, right? Um, so yeah, that's pretty much it. I know uh, there are been talks about changing the calendar of the Brazilian league and
Mm-hmm.
looking to a little bit more of a European kind of similar calendar. People are saying that this time right now, what we're going through, can be an opportunity to be used by it because we do lose a lot of stars to the European market in the middle of the season. And
Yeah,
as well, there's those international competitions break that happens in the middle of the season, the middle of the Brazilian season.
that's a good way of putting it, because I never thought about that, because a lot of people have this concept like, okay, we built our team, and then like we have the January transfer window, and then like we get the players that, like maybe didn't work out, and then we get that. But I can't imagine, okay, we start the season in January, you're representing it from January to April in your little states, and of course it's very important because, as you mentioned, the tradition. So for a
Yeah,
lot of the young kids that get exposed to that, whether that's their first game or let's say 50th game for the club, they get to understand the history, which is really important. And then you progress to the league, but then all of a sudden, ring ring Barcelona calls, or ring ring Real Madrid calls, and like there goes your number 10, there goes your star striker, there goes your star
yes,
keeper, and all of a sudden that kid that's like, I don't know, maybe just signed for the club is like, yeah, you're our starting goalkeeper from like, I don't know, July till December, and we have to win the cup. Like, that's incredible.
yes, and just touch base a little bit about the state. The state title is also a good opportunity for you to play your rivals in your city as well more
It's true.
frequently, right? But you touch base on a good point. When you lose your main player, you
Mm-hmm.
know, before the season started, right in the middle of the season, then you have left, the rest of the season to play with all that stars. So your whole planning goes out of the water, right? There's our cases that teams losing, almost that whole starting 11, and so they start a season with one team and then end the season for something completely different, right? Like Europe is not only our main buyers right now, but we got Asia. Asia is a big Brazilian buyer right now in terms of the market. Like the Chinese Super League was buying a lot of players from Brazil. So the Japanese league still buys a lot of players from Brazil. So we also
I didn't know
competing.
that.
Yeah, there's also those other areas in the world that focus in our league as to extract product from there.
So what does the Brazilian league need to do besides maybe possibly restructuring, like you maybe suggested there, to maintain and keep a lot of this homegrown talent? Because I feel like I'm hearing that word a lot in the world football. And don't worry, we'll get to the goals after. But I'm really curious about this. Is like, why can't
Yeah,
people just stay within their own country to play and like kind of develop there and kind of become like club icons for people to enjoy?
yeah. It's something that this question I always like struggled when I was a kid to understand. Why would you want to leave the team that you love?
Yeah.
You play for it, grow you, right? And then you almost feel betrayed when you see as a kid, when you see the player that you look up to,
Mm-hmm.
taking off in the middle of the season and go play for a league that you don't really watch, right? So, uh, but the more and more I grew up back home, I understood that that's kind of the mentality. It's I want to leave, and that's you leaving the Brazil, the country. It's almost like a form of success in terms of
Okay.
society. In terms so in soccer specific. In terms of
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing well in my career. Is I have to leave. So more and more, this is changing. I find that clubs are starting to figure it out. Ways to maintain their team, but it's still a little bit tough to do it.
Mm-hmm.
To do that, uh, I want to touch base on the calendar first, and then I'm going to think about what I think they need to do. So
Okay.
Argentina frequently changed their calendar to a more European one.
Mm-hmm.
They're starting to collect the fruits a little bit of not competing, not losing their players in the middle of the season.
Yeah.
And that's been working well for them. They're also becoming buyers, so they're also able to, purchase and add more stars to their team, add more players to their team, because the transfers, the main transfer window is doing the same as Europe, right? So
Okay. And that
our,
helps.
exactly, our main transfer window is the January transfer window in Brazil. So, we can't really buy a lot of players in the middle of the season because the season's going on. So you don't have a lot of resources to go out there and look for players while the whole season's going on. So that's another, disadvantage of having the calendar the way it is. What I think the Brazilian clubs are a little bit behind in terms of just operation, right? And when you look at European clubs, the most successful ones, the way they operate their team, the way the league operates itself, the way the league sells its products on the marketing side, on the media side, the way they make an effort to expose the product internationally.
Yeah.
I think we should have been doing that already 10 years ago, so we're starting to do that right now. We just sold the rights of the Brazilian league to an international platform recently, like just 2 months ago.
Congratulations.
Yeah, so it's a little bit late, right, for these things to happen, because these things are source of revenue for teams to make money, quite frankly, have money to keep those stars, right? And so I still think there's still a lot of work to be done to make the clubs there a little bit more professional, and that way when they find out the source of revenue, they will be able to keep their stars more, when they're able to internationalize their brand a little bit more. So yeah, that's my personal opinion.
No, it's spot on. I think you should almost be the head of the operation. Because, to be honest, just saying Brazil, everyone already knows what they're thinking about Brazil. They're thinking about the beautiful game.
Exactly. But it does pain me, though, that, for example, when I moved here to Canada in 2007, it was tough to watch the games back home here on TV, right? I had to go to the internet and, watch the highlights, and I keep thinking that we should have been doing those things back, right? And back home, the whole idea of selling a player, that almost become as the main goal for clubs. They don't really care about branding at the time. They don't really care about ticket sales. They don't really care about.
They just wanted to be the guy that say, like, okay, this player came from this club, and now he's playing at one of the big clubs in Europe.
Exactly. 10 years ago, that was the only mentality that they had. It's producing stars and selling, because that's the best source of revenue that we can get. Well, they got a point. That was, our league is known for that. But at the same time, there's other things that you as a club or as a league can focus to grow, right? And brand internationalization is one.
Okay. No, you bring up some excellent point there. And I hope some Brazilian, higher-ups who are watching this video to understand what tactics they should be implying right now, so that way they can maybe elevate their club brand to the global brand. I'm going to transition, though. I need some goals, though, or this would be called Goals of Our Lives. At least one. Were there any goals that you can recall? Like, I know we can go TFC, we can go personal. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, actually,
let's get going.
I had to go back in time a little bit here for this exercise, which was good. One thing that I noticed is a lot of the goals was associated with the big stage, right? A lot of goals that stick with us are associated with the stage. So if a good goal, if a nice goal happens, it can be a beautiful goal. It can be like if it was played on a big stage, and if you get both of them together, then those ones stick with you, right? But I think the first one,
formula.
the first one that really stuck with me, to go back to my story of how I fell in love with soccer, was actually during that game, Brazil and Scotland, and it was actually the first ever goal I remember, as a kid watching, and was an own goal actually, scored by a player called Thomas Boyd. He was a Scottish defender, and was Cafu that kicked the ball and hit the Scottish keeper.
Yeah.
And it hit Thomas Boyd and then went into the back of the net. And all I remember as a kid was just Cafu doing a backflip like that.
Yeah.
And that stuck with me really well, that image. And I was like, man, this is awesome. I got to watch more of this. As a 7-year-old.
I can see you. You're probably angry at the punishment and everything else. Or in this case, you probably get home and you're like, sorry, Dad, like, the teacher held me up long and, Mom didn't come pick me up, but I'm here now.
Exactly. And I got home, the game already started, right? So I think I probably missed the first goal. I don't remember that correctly, but that one I remember really, really well. And that World Cup, we lost in the final against France. Zidane scored.
I'm sorry. That was my moment of what got me in the football. Was
man, that was tough. I remember watching that, but it was a great tournament to watch. It was an awesome tournament to watch.
Like, I think words, I'm going to quote him, and maybe one day I'll get him on this. KJ, he said it best, was just like, your first World Cup is always probably going to be the best World Cup that you've ever seen. So I think for KJ, it was 94. For us, it's 98. And for some of the recent generations, it's been the recent ones. Maybe it was 06, maybe it was 2010, or maybe even 2014.
Yeah.
It's truly magical. Were there any other goals, like not just the international stage? Like, have you watched any recent Champions League games back and maybe seen any good goals there? Or
Well, yeah, there's a couple. Obviously, I think, I watched many World Cups, but I'm going to start to say why I like this goal a lot. I think Michael Essien versus Barcelona in 2009, where he kind of volleyed and hit the post and went in. Chelsea is my team in Europe, and a lot of people in Brazil start supporting a team. I think a lot of people in Canada, a European team. We don't really watch as much as European soccer back then, but we do start following teams because we play with them in FIFA. I used to pick Chelsea in 2005, 2008, and I started liking the team because they were a really good team. And that Champions League run in 2009 was awesome. And we lost. It was a little bit of a controversial game. I don't know if you remember, against Barcelona, and Drogba just yelled some profanity on the screen there. But that game, I remember that goal that Michael Essien scored was really cool to see that. And I still think that if we went to the final, we'll probably win that Champions League that year.
It always pains me to say it, but the European success that Chelsea have done in the past decade or two has been credit to them. Obviously Arsenal have come up short, and I wish to see them come back there as well. Of course, I will unfortunately say congratulations on winning Europa League last season, if such a thing, just to remind those Arsenal people. But at the same time, don't give up. Our club will rise again, as they say, and Chelsea will fall.
Oh, you need. I want Arsenal to be back, and the funny thing too, another thing why I started to, kind of supporting Chelsea a little bit, not as much as I do today, but back then, 2003 or 2004, Arsenal was undefeated, and no team was going to beat Arsenal. And I think Chelsea was coming close to the second in that league, and I was like, man, what is the one team that I can support that can beat that team? Because no one can beat Arsenal at that time.
Yeah.
So it's Arsenal contributed to me supporting Chelsea somehow. And we need that. I think one of the things that make the Premier League so good is the fact
the stories, the rivalries.
The rivalries at the competition level, right? It's a very well balanced league, and it's different than a lot of leagues out there. So you can have different champions every year.
Now, I'm going to end with a personal story because I know it's something that we can both relate, because I feel like we both attended the game that's on your beloved hat. The MLS Cup Championship. For those people that don't know, that is, I would say, in my personal eyes, a 2-year story. And that came from the season where they made it to the finals. They got at BMO Field, 0-0. I froze my butt off. I lost feeling my toes. Goes to the shootout, and Fry just, I don't know, he brought 2-step ladders, climbed up to the top and stopped Josie's header. But then you fast forward another year, we do it again, we get mentally tough. Take me through where were you? Were you at BMO for that one?
Yes. I was at BMO for both MLS Cups. I was fortunate enough already to be on my position of MLSC. And I remember, the cold 2006, and the Seattle fans just celebrating in the end, and just my blood boiling for revenge, and the redemption the following year. MLS Cup, I take the day off. I don't want to work. I don't want to wear my corporate hat on the MLS Cup. So I just buy a ticket and I go sit on the seat and take it in as a fan, because it's such a special moment. We work really hard during the year to get to that position, and we were lucky enough last year, 2019, to be there again. I was on section 122 for the whole game with my colleague Alex, and it was awesome to share that moment with somebody that worked on the side on the backstage of the team really hard like you do, and to see that we're doing that, and Josie scoring that goal, it was awesome. It was definitely one of the best moments that I've seen in soccer. So it was absolutely amazing. And I even have a picture in my living room of that exact moment that a goal happened.
And you know what? I hope more history does come on Canadian soil, because I think it needs to happen to create moments. I know it can't create moments like you have back at home in Brazil or even in Europe like we watch on television, but
Yeah.
see those moments live and have that experience. I know that's what everybody wants to be a part of again. And hopefully, vaccine, better practices, better discipline as a society, as I should probably be saying, come through in the following months, and that we're able to get together to have those moments, because that's what makes the beautiful game, well, beautiful. And
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think that there's the such a the importance of being there, presence and seeing for your own eyes, the exact moment happen. It contributes so much for the growth of the sport. And I do, like you said, I do really hope that we are able to do that soon. We have a World Cup in 2026 to look forward to. And that's going to create a lot of special moments, just like this Josie goals, to many, many kids, many adults, many people from different generations. I was lucky enough to be in a 2014 World Cup. I was a volunteer there, and that was one of the best experiences I ever had. It was the best event I ever worked in, and I can't wait to see that happening here in our backyard.
Fingers crossed. So obviously, I hope everyone was entertained for the time that we did. That's the whole job of Goals of Our Lives. It's to exchange stories with lovely fans that I've had the pleasure to meet. And I want to give them a platform to tell their stories. And Thiago, your story was fantastic, and I hope everyone did enjoy it. Like, comment down below with your favorite parts. You people are slacking. I know you guys are at home and you're on your keyboards and you're watching this. So comment below with your favorite parts, and we'll comment back about if we did enjoy it as well. Like, bear, subscribe, do all that good stuff. And Thiago, thank you again so much from the whole Soccerholics community for sharing your story today. And I hope that you have a fantastic day and stay safe out there. Take care.
Thank you, Chris. My pleasure.
Take care.